Hey, a brand new episode of the Happy Productive Podcast is about to begin. It's time to be inspired by simple and actionable solutions for you and your business. If you're an established entrepreneur or just laying down the first brick of your future empire, the mantra is the same. We will flip any failure into a positive and use it to our advantage. This show is all about turning coal into diamonds. With the right plan and mindset, anything is possible. I'm Jennifer Dawn, your host, business coach, and founder of Best Planner Ever, and I'm here to help you achieve all your ambitious goals. Success is closer than you think. Let's do this. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today to a new episode of the Happy Productive Podcast. I'm super excited for my guest today, Miss Hally Brooke. Hally, how are you? Welcome.
I'm good, Jennifer. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So Hally, tell us a little bit about you and just your story and how you came to be here with me today and doing the work that you do.
Oh, man. Yeah. So I just career-wise came out of college thinking I wanted to go into med school, ended up doing what I thought was going to be a 2-year stint teaching, ended up becoming a 9-year stint teaching math in Title I schools. Through that process, stress and not taking care of myself, I ended up getting super sick. And none of the doctors that I went to could figure out what was wrong with me. They just told me, like, you've got IBS. And so chicken and lettuce is what you're going to eat for the rest of your life. And hope that's good for you, because that's what we got. And I just went, oh my gosh, like that cannot be the answer. And so I sort of stumbled my way into functional medicine, looking for solutions and answers for myself, and left teaching, went back to school, got a degree in functional medicine, nutrition, and health coaching, started a functional medicine health coaching practice, which is alive and thriving and growing. And I have multiple coaches and nutritionists working for me. And in that process, had, numerous business owners coming to me with similar issues, right? Gas and bloating and chronic fatigue and brain fog and all of these things that make it really hard to run a business. And what I realized was that entrepreneurs and business owners have their own special kind of stress, right? We're all, moms or dads. We are, humans. We have friends. We are daughters. We are sons. We are whatever. But then we're also running a business. And that is a whole other level of stress. And so I sort of took an offshoot of Live Nourish coaching to focus specifically on entrepreneurs, because we wear more hats. We wear different hats than just like a non-entrepreneur, someone with a standard job. And so my team now handles kind of our standard functional medicine gut health clients, and then I work with our entrepreneurs.
Oh, that's so amazing. And for those who don't know, we actually work with an amazing functional medicine doctor. You guys, if you're in Southern California, Dr. Tracy McCarthy, she's been one of our clients for years now. And she actually started she's a traditionally trained medical doctor. And then she switched over and became a functional medicine doctor. And so for those who don't know, like, what functional medicine is, how is it different than traditional medicine? Could you just give a quick little, what's the difference, Hally, in those different things?
Yeah, absolutely. So we say that functional medicine is root cause medicine. So instead of kind of playing whack-a-mole with symptoms, right, you have all of these different symptoms. You have eczema and psoriasis and brain fog and dark circles under your eyes and achy joints, like all of the things that we consider symptoms. I love Western medicine. I think it's fantastic. It is so helpful. But a lot of times you go to a Western medicine doctor and they just kind of put Band-Aids on the symptoms, and then they get this one under control, and then this one pops up and you're just playing whack-a-mole. And so functional medicine, instead of playing whack-a-mole with symptoms, we go after the root cause, or where are all of these symptoms coming from? So why do we have eczema and psoriasis and chronic fatigue and brain fog and achy joints and gas and bloating? Like, why do we have all these things? Well, it's this one, maybe two things that are typically things like nutritional imbalance or gut permeability or inflammation, which is actually technically a secondary root cause. But we go after those root causes and all of the things go away. Another way I really like to say or describe functional medicine is it's like you have your fire alarm going off in your kitchen. And so you just walk in and turn off the fire alarm, but there's like still a fire raging. We go in and we actually put the fire out. That's what functional medicine is.
Oh, very nice. And so with functional medicine, is it also like people, like with traditional medical doctors, you can only work with people like within your state? I don't know. Does functional medicine, can you cross boundaries, or is it also specific to an area?
That's such a great question. So it depends on your scope of practice. So for practitioners like doctors, you have to be within your state. So if you're in California, you have to see a practitioner in your state. With our licensure, so we're nutrition counselors, which is slightly different than a registered dietitian. Registered dietitians, again, you have to be within state, but a nutrition counselor and a health coach, we work across states. So we partner with multiple different functional medicine practitioners. We have clients all over the country. We now have clients all over the world, which is cool. So for us, our company, we do not have to be in state.
Oh, that's so awesome. And so, like, for example, I have been working with a health coach and I've been working with an RN because I'm so grateful. I just turned 50. And so I've been dealing with a lot of menopause and stuff like that. And I really haven't had a lot of symptoms, but thankfully. But one of the things that I've had my health coach say is inflammation. She's like, I feel like you're having trouble with inflammation. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so what do you want me to do about it? And they give you a few things to try, but then when nothing works, and I know that this is a frustration I'm going through right now. I know there are people listening that maybe they've worked with whoever, their doctor, a coach, or whatever, and they're like, oh, hey, we think the problem is this. And sometimes you feel a little bit like, at least I feel a little bit like everybody's guessing, trying to sort of figure it out, and nobody's really figuring it out. And so, do you work with patients like this? Do you see this happening where people are just like, hey, I have a symptom or whatever, but I've tried all these different things, but it isn't really getting rid of it? Do you see functional medicine as a way of kind of really helping get to the root cause?
Yes, I absolutely do. So we see a lot of clients like that. The bummer is that like we say functional medicine is preventative medicine or thriving medicine, but a lot of times it also ends up being last resort medicine. People come to functional
Mm,
medicine when nothing else has worked. So I would answer that question in two ways and say, like go find a functional medicine practitioner or a health coach or a nutritionist before something's wrong, right? If you take your car in for regular oil changes, your engine doesn't blow up. If you have to go find a mechanic once your engine is blown up, it's going to be a lot more work. It's going to be a lot harder. So that's kind of my first answer to that. But then the second answer is, functional medicine does end up being last resort a lot of times when kind of everything that we haven't tried works. So, or hasn't worked. So what I like to tell our clients or our prospective clients is one of the things that's really important, especially for what you're dealing with, which is like, I feel like we've tried a lot of stuff and it's just not working. Two things. One, to be incredibly honest with yourself on if you've actually implemented the lifestyle changes, right? That's step
mm,
number one.
yeah,
We
yeah.
have a number of clients come to us who are like, yeah, I'm dealing with inflammation. I've like kind of changed my diet, but I'm still eating all these things. And we say like, that's probably why. Like if you haven't actually implemented the lifestyle changes on a
Yep.
consistent
Yeah.
basis, I say it takes 4 months minimum for every single cell in your body to die and be made new. And that's for like a young, 20 to 30-year-old person. Once we start to age and we get older, that time frame expands. So in order for functional medicine to work, the prescriptions that we use through functional medicine are lifestyle oriented. It's we need to change your diet, we need to move your body, all of these things. And the minimum amount of time for any of that to work is 4 months. So we have to be able to
Hmm.
get to a place where we actually implement these things for a minimum of 4 months. And so a lot of times we see clients come in, they're like, it's been 2 weeks and I'm still not feeling better. We're like, I know. we're like, 1/8 into this process. So that's one thing that's like a huge piece. And then the second piece that really ties into that is you need to find a practitioner who treats you like an expert in your body. So we
Mm.
talk at Live Nourish Coaching about an expert to expert approach. A lot of times when you go see a practitioner, no matter who they are, whether they're Western medicine or functional medicine or a chiropractor or a nutritionist, it ends up being this kind of like expert to peon relationship. And so they say, like, go do this and you go do it and it doesn't work. And then they're like frustrated versus, you live in your body every single day and you live in your life every single day. And so you need to find a practitioner that treats you like an expert in that so that we can actually work together in this expert to expert approach to figure out what is working and what isn't working. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it's really a twofold. Like you as the patient have to do the things. I can't be in your kitchen with you on a Tuesday making choices, but you also need to find someone who will listen to you. And when you say like, hey, I don't feel like this is working and my symptoms aren't clearing up, instead of just like giving you another supplement or giving you another thing to do, really sitting down and asking you deep questions and figuring out what's going on.
Yeah, no, you absolutely answered it. And that's such great information because I'm also a coach. I'm a business coach. And what do we say in business coaching? It's like, hey, if I tell you what to do and you don't do it, you're not going to get the results. So don't come back to me and be like, oh, that didn't work. Yeah, well, did you do the work? So I think that is a huge point to really kind of drill in of like, you have to actually make these changes. And the 4-month thing, that's so good to know because you see so often like, oh, I tried it for a week, I tried it for 2 weeks, and I'm not, magically healed. And it's going to take a lot longer for these kinds of changes. But I'm such a
Yeah.
huge fan of functional medicine. And honestly, I love all of it. If I break my arm, I want a Western medical doctor to set it. And like, if I need a surgery, if I need to be cut open, like Western medicine, I'm like right there. But when it comes to so many of these other symptoms, I just don't feel like Western medicine. I feel like they just always medicate symptoms. They're not really healing or solving anything at the source. And so things like chiropractic and oh gosh, I've been doing this thing called Rolfing, and it has
Hmm.
gone. So most of us have heard of massage therapy. Rolfing is like massage on steroids. It like goes so deep, and I mean so deep, and they're healing a lot of the trauma that's in the body, and it's just been really powerful. But I love chiropractic and acupuncture and functional medicine and just all of it, all of these amazing things. And I feel like it's so important as business owners for us to really make our health a priority so that instead of the business, it's so easy. I've done it for years where the business is my priority. I have
Hmm.
sacrificed my health. I don't do it anymore. Or let's just say I'm always getting better and better at it. And I think it's so easy for so many business owners. And then they have a health crisis or a healing crisis. And it didn't happen overnight. It happened from years, years, you
Yeah.
guys, of not making our health and not just our physical health, but our emotional health, like all of that stuff a priority. So it makes sense that if you've been doing something for 5 or 10 or 15 years, that you're not going to solve it in 2 weeks because you changed your diet a little bit. It's going to take some
Right.
time for this stuff to cycle through.
Right. And another thing to keep in mind too is typically when someone's coming to functional medicine, it's been a while that they've felt these symptoms. So, like it might have taken us 5, 10, 15, 30 years to get to this place of dysfunction. And it's irrational to think that we can reverse that in a week. Like it's impossible. So that's a piece to keep in mind too.
Yeah, it's very interesting as I've gotten a little bit older and I turned 50 last year. I'll be 51 this year. And I honestly didn't even realize that my body was going through menopause and my hormones and stuff were really suffering. And the worst one was my testosterone. And I didn't even know,
Mm,
like over the course of year after year, now I know, and I've been working to address it and have had a lot of success in that area. But like looking back now, I'm like, oh my God, like these symptoms started 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And I'm a very driven person. And so I was just like, push through it, push through it, push through it. And then I went out and a year or two ago, I went out and I did, 15 Spartan races in a year. And
oh
they're all
no.
like, oh yeah, and you did that on like really low testosterone. They're like, well, no shit, Sherlock. That's why you have fatigue, and that's why you try to exercise really hard now, and you can't. And so I've had to really back off a
Right.
lot of this stuff and switch to yoga. And I'm walking. I'm still riding horses and motorcycles and ATVs and having fun, but I'm not doing that
Yes.
intense exercise at least right now for this stage of my life. But it's very interesting to me looking back now is like, oh no, this stuff was actually going on the whole time. And I just kept pushing and
Hmm.
driving. Yeah. And so, like, and I'm hoping somebody listening right now will be like, uh-oh, especially if you're female and you're at this age
Yes.
and you're noticing these symptoms, and don't just push through them, you guys. Like, really go, find a functional medicine. I love functional medicine. So find a functional medicine person to work with, like Hally or her team, and, get yourself checked out, really find out what's going on. Like, when we started supplementing my thyroid and a little bit of testosterone and things like that, it's like the lights came back on again. And you start realizing, wow, I didn't even realize how bad I felt because you just are just pushing and driving. And so, like, what do you say to business owners who, I know there's some listening that will be listening and being like, oh God, that's me. Like, what do you say to help them really understand the importance of these things? And if you're seeing some symptoms, to do something about it sooner rather than later?
Yeah, man. Well, speaking to business owners specifically, there's two studies that I absolutely love that I think will really drive this point that we're talking about home. Like, hey, you can be running a business. You have to take care of yourself too. The first one is from Forbes. So Forbes did a 5-year comprehensive study with over 1,000 participants, really incredible study. And what they found was business owners who scored in the top 10% of a wellness profile. This is not a business wellness profile. This is not about your marketing and your strategy and your bottom line. This is like, do you meditate? Do you eat real food? Do you move your body? Like a really standard wellness profile. The business owners who scored in the top 10% of that wellness profile made two times growth compared to the ones who scored lower than that. And the ones who scored in the bottom 50% of that wellness profile lost money year to year, which is
Wow.
crazy. So let me just rephrase that. The business owners who take care of their health and well-being make more money than the ones who don't. The business owners who completely neglect their health and well-being lose money. So I think so many times as business owners, we sit there and we think about like, oh, I need a better marketing strategy, or I need a better this, or I need a better that, or I need to fire this person, I need to hire this person, I need help, I need whatever. And nowhere in that thought process is, hey, I need to take 30 minutes on my lunch break and go for a walk, and that will actually help me move my business forward. But we now have solid data that it does. There's a really similar study, not quite as comprehensive as Forbes, done in Entrepreneur magazine, published in entrepreneur.com, who basically found the same thing. They found that CEOs and business leaders who self-report to prioritize their own well-being have 60% more of their employees reporting that they're happy at work, have 2 times more growth year to year compared to those who don't. So it corroborated the Forbes study, and tend to stay in business longer than CEOs who self-report to prioritize or to over prioritize work. And I mean, that just drives it home. Like, if you're a business owner, especially if you're a business owner of a small business, if you're a CEO of like a Fortune 5,000 company and you can disappear for 2 months and nobody's going to notice, it's one thing. But if you're a small business, whether you're a solopreneur or you're a small business owner and you disappearing for a week at a time, like people notice, like the wheels start to
Yeah.
come off. You can't afford to get sick and go to the hospital for 3 months. Like you have to take that car in for regular maintenance because the engine blowing up is not an option. And I think people they just don't think about that. It doesn't occur to them.
I agree. I know I've been there before where it's just like, oh, no, 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 I can't go for the walk. I'm just going to eat something quick, whatever, because I've got so much on my plate today. And I've done this time and time again. And I'm not going to say that I'm perfect, but I've made it such a huge priority because I see the difference that it makes. A few weeks
Yes.
ago, we had an amazing guest, Elaine Pofelt. She's written 2 books, and one of her books is Tiny Business. And so she did a study and talked with a bunch of business owners who all had businesses that had crossed the $1 million mark. And Tiny Business was
Oh,
about,
wow.
it was a single person who had a business that did $1 million in revenues of more. And of all the business owners that she talked to that had crossed the 7-figure mark, and you guys, if you don't know, like the majority of businesses never cross the 7-figure mark. I think it's like 95%. Like there's a huge, no, it is. It's like 95% never cross the 7-figure mark, and only 2% of those that do are women owned. So a very,
Wow.
very small number of businesses ever cross that 7-figure mark. And so this is the study that Elaine had done on business owners who had crossed this mark. So we're talking about the top 5%. And she said of all of them, one of the things that they had in common was 88% of them all ate real food, move their bodies, prioritize their self-care. And it's just like, we see this over and over. I kind of almost think for business owners, like if you tell me I'm going to make less money if I don't take care of myself, like that to me is a huge motivator. So for all of you guys
Huge
listening, if
motivator.
you're stubborn like me and you're just like, wait a second, I'm going to make less money. I'm going to have to deal with, employees leaving and not being happy. And I'm going to have to deal with worse problems by just not taking care of myself. Like that for me is enough to be like, okay, I'm going to change something
Amen.
here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, that can be a daily kind of mindset of,
Yeah.
what you were talking about, like, I'm going to grab something fast, I'm going to work through lunch, whatever. If you can pause and in your brain, you can go, me doing this is like me working through lunch is actually going to equal me having a less successful business. I'm going to go take that walk.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And for those of you, and we do this with our clients as well, I think that we're a little bit unique in our business coaching because we do actually have health coaches on staff. And when we do an
Yeah.
initial assessment of a business and when you come in to work with us, these are some of the questions that we ask you is what are you doing to prioritize your health, which I know every business coach I've ever worked with, and there have been a ton, none of them have ever done this. If you go work with a health coach, yes, it's expected. But when you work with a business coach, it's generally just focused on the business. But we make the health piece like be a big priority, which is why I was so excited to talk with you today, Hally, because I think it is such an important piece that we can't just like keep overlooking and forget about. Like you have to pair the two together, taking care of yourself and your
Yeah.
own health. And when you do that, that's actually going to give you the clarity of mind. It's going to give you the energy. You know, when we go to coach somebody on their business and they're sick and they're overwhelmed and they're burned out and they literally just don't have the energy to make the changes, like they end up just staying stuck, which is why I just like,
Right.
guys, like we've got to start with this. And my point here was like, if you're just starting and you're like realizing, hey, you know what, I really do need to start prioritizing my self care, we suggest that you start small. Don't like try to go work out for 3 hours today or anything like that. You know,
Right.
we've got to build the habits and the consistency, and it's better to start small and do things, something every day, a little bit at a time, and then gradually increase it. At least that's one of the approaches that we use. And so, Hally, what's your advice for somebody who is realizing now that they've listened to this and they're like, oh my God, if for any other reason you want to make more money and you're like, okay, I'll take care of myself because I want to make some more money. Okay. So what do
Right.
you
Yeah.
recommend as like a first step to like now starting to get going with this?
Absolutely. I mean, it's such a good question. So we talk about 4 baselines. Okay. So Live Nourish Coaching, we have Nourished Nutrition, Nourished Movement, Nourished Mind and Spirit, and then Nourished Relationships. So the first thing we have a client do is we have them write down those 4 categories. And then we have them write down what would a baseline look like. And when I mean baseline, I mean like absolute lowest barrier to entry. And that evolves as you go through this process. But if you're, sitting on your butt, super sedentary, working in your business, you haven't moved, you haven't eaten well, etc., those baselines are going to be baselines. So it might start with like, I'm going to eat a balanced breakfast every day, right? Like baseline. It might be, I'm going to move my body for 30 minutes once a day, 4 days a week, right? Like baseline, move my body. That could be a walk. That could be a workout. That could be yoga, that could be abs. Like I'm just going to move. I'm going to not sit in my chair for 30 minutes a day, baseline. Then we're going to talk about movement or nourished mind and spirit. So we typically ask people like, what does nourish your mind and spirit? And people typically know. They're like, sitting in my backyard, spending time with my family, going on a hike, going on a walk. And we're going to say, okay, how can we build that into your week on a regular basis in a way that works? You can go above and beyond that, right? Going back to nourished movement. If you do an hour of movement, great, bonus points, but we're just hitting a baseline. And then nourished relationships are like, who are the people in your life that feed your soul? And how can we work on spending more time with them? And then we start talking about 2-degree shifts. So 2-degree shifts are if you are a sailor and you take off from the United States and you change your tack by 2 degrees and you keep sailing across the Pacific Ocean, you literally land on a different continent than you would have if you had continued in the same trajectory. So these things do not need to be massive changes. They can be microscopic, but when you stack enough microscopic changes, and then the key, like we talked about before, is implementing those microscopic changes over a decent period of time, you literally land on a different continent, right? You land on illness this direction, or you land on health this direction. So that's where we would start. Like those 4 categories: nourished nutrition, nourished movement, nourished mind, spirit, and then nourished relationships. And you make a tiny tweak, even in one of those categories, and you start to build momentum. And then you get this snowball effect. And all of a sudden, 3 years down the road, your nourished baseline for movement is like an hour-long mountain bike ride, right? And so we start to tweak and change and grow these things as we go.
Oh, I love this so much. A 2-degree shift, you guys. Like we can all do that. No matter how busy you are, that to me feels so manageable and easy. One of the things we'd love to do is focus on like one new habit a month. As a business owner, I'm just like, I always want to try to do 10 things at once and I always have to rein myself back in. But I find that sometimes if I'm just like, all right, this month I'm going to focus on this new habit and that's all I have to do. It feels so manageable. And that 2-degree shift to me,
Yeah.
that feels like so manageable. And once you like make a little shift, then you get it, it becomes part of who you are because you develop the habit and then you make another little shift. And before you know it, you land on another continent, which I love that. That visualization is so powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is. It really is. And it's not just that, like it actually truly works.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. It's interesting because like a year ago, I was out doing all these Spartan races, which I love. And one day I'll get back out there again. Now I'm doing yoga. And I think it's okay to just choose wherever you're at, whatever your body is calling for. It's crazy how my body is just loving yoga. Like every day, I'm just like,
Mm.
oh, even when my brain always says, oh, just go get to work. And I'm like, no, bitch, you gotta like put your butt on the mat and like, come on, like get back here. So
Good
I
job.
do. So I put my butt on the mat. And then as soon as I start, it's just like, oh, thank you. Thank you. Just I can feel my body is just like so grateful and so happy. And you guys, when you're everybody listening, like, I know we're helping some people right now and just choose whatever works for you. There's no judgment here. There's no ego here. For some of you, it's going to be the Spartan races, and for some of you, it's going to be the yoga. And for most of us, it's going to be somewhere in between. But I just think it's so important to just move your body, especially I've noticed like in my business, anytime where I felt the most stuck is when I'm moving the least. But when I'm moving my body and I'm
Yeah.
just getting more flexible, it feels like to me that there's a correlation there of just really even getting unstuck in the business. I've got to start by getting my physical body unstuck.
Amen. Yep.
Yeah. Do you see that too with your clients?
100%. I mean, going for a walk, like a 30-minute walk. So when a client starts working with us, one of the first things that we tell them to do, at least on the business side, right? On the health coaching side, it's very different. But on the business side, when someone works with us and as an entrepreneur, I say the first thing that you have to do is you have to commit to going for a 30-minute walk 5 days a week for your first 5 days with us. And my business owners freak out. They're like, I can't do that. I eat lunch like while I'm checking my email and doing, I mean, it's like, it's
Yeah.
like I told them they were going to have a root canal. It's like painful for them. And I say, I won't work with you unless you commit to this for 5 days. Like, I promise it's not going to take your business. You're going to be fine. And one of my favorite stories, one of my first entrepreneurs I did with this, and part of the reason I'm so stanky about it, and like, I will not work with you unless you do this with me. One of the first business owners I worked with, I made her do this. She freaked out. She's like, I can't, it's impossible. There's no way. Like, I can't do it. And I said, that's fine. I'll refund your money. Like, I'm not going to work with you if you don't. And she was like, okay, fine. Day number 2, she texted me and she's like, I got back from my walk. It's 4 o'clock. I've gotten everything done on my to-do list. Usually she worked until like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. She's like, it's 4 o'clock. I have everything done on my to-do list and I'm going to leave work now. And I was like, And by day 5, she was like, a walk is now part of my day because it helps me be so much more productive. Like her afternoon was 14 times more productive implementing a 30-minute walk because she got unstuck. She moved her body. She thought through what needed to happen. She took a break. She gave herself time to reset. And all of a sudden she's cut, gosh, if she stopped working at 4, she usually worked to 7 and 8. She's just gotten 12 hours a week back in her life with a 30-minute walk.
Right.
And that's been the story of like every entrepreneur we work with.
Right. Oh my God, that's such a great visualization because I know that when I'm out on my walk or even sitting on the mat, you're thinking about your day. And I have solved so many problems just by stepping away, going for a little walk. I have horses. And so I'll go out to the barn and the drive
Oh man.
out. And while I'm there, more problems get solved just in that time because you took that time away. So I absolutely love this so much. And it's so true that when you have time to just step away in, think about it, plan out your day. I figure out, oh, wait, why am I going to do that? I need to delegate that to this person, or, who on my team can handle this? And you can just do so much problem solving in your own mind, like while you've stepped away. So I love that
Yeah.
visualization so much.
Yeah, it's helpful. And I think sometimes too, we think we just keep cranking. Like if I just keep cranking, if I just keep cranking, if I just keep cranking, it's going to be fine. And the reality is like, nope. Give yourself a break and you'll figure out the answer.
Yes, I love this so much. And so we're almost at the end of our time, Hally, which I could just talk about this stuff all day. I love it so much. What would
Same.
you say to somebody who is interested in finding like a functional medicine person to work with or a coach? Like, what would you say to guide them in finding the right person to work with? Like, what would you look for?
Yeah. Oh, that's such a great question. So the first thing that I would look for is that they treat you with that expert to expert approach. That is important whether you're finding a regular like primary care doctor or a functional medicine doctor. You want to interview a couple and you want to see if they're listening to you or if they're just, hearing your symptom and plugging and playing the solution, right? You want someone who treats you as an expert in your own body, who listens to you, who cares about you and your individuality. That is priority number one. So priority number one is interview a couple people, see what you're looking for. Number two is, know in your own self the level that you want to go to. So you can go work directly with a functional medicine doctor. The majority of functional medicine doctors, I actually don't know any who take insurance. So know that if you're going to work with a functional medicine doctor, you're going to pay cash and it's going to be somewhere between $7,000 to $15,000. That's just like what it's going to be. So know that going in, but then also know that you can work with a functional nutritionist or a functional health coach for a fraction of that cost. And you're probably going to get very similar results because the prescription or the recommendations with functional medicine are all based around lifestyle. And so, know yourself. If you want to go all in and you're ready to spend 15 grand, get on IFM, Institute for Functional Medicine, find a doctor in your area and go for it. If you're not sure that you're quite there yet, start with a health coach, start with a nutritionist, start with someone who can kind of step you in. And the reality is you're probably going to get the same results. So those are the two things that I would say. Find someone who listens to you, interview a couple people, and decide which route you want to go.
Oh, I love this so much. And you could always, for free, start by going for a 30-minute walk each day and start by eating a piece of food that is a living piece of food and not dead processed crap. And you guys can tell the difference. And so set your intention, just start eating some real food and start for a walk each day. I love it, love it, love it. So great. Hally, thank you so much really for being here with me today. And where can people find you if they want to find out more information about your company?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is the best place to go, www.livenourished.coaching, LIVENOURISHED coaching.com. That's the best place. You can schedule a free consult. If you're curious about getting started with functional medicine, we have a promise that we will not offer for you to work with us if you're not the right fit. And we have a 60 plus refer out list of doctors and practitioners and nutritionists who we refer out to. So book a free consult with us, start with us. We will help you get pointed in the right direction. And then our Instagram is also a great place to follow us and get to know us. So that's at Instagram at Live Nourished Coaching. And we're now on Threads as well. For those of you who know what that is, same thing at Live Nourished Coaching. So come follow us on social media, come check out our website, book a call with us. We would love to connect.
Oh, I love that so much. I'm going to go follow you on Instagram right now. Our accounts they were hacked a month or two ago and we finally got control back to them again. I'm like, but I'm going to go follow you on Instagram right now. I love it. All right, you guys, go follow Hally, schedule a free consult if you're interested in getting started with this or learning more. I love that you guys also refer out if you're not right fit. So at least you have a place that people can go. It's so amazing. You guys, your health is your number one priority. I know there's some saying about you don't realize how important your health is until you lose it. But at the end of the day, it really is more important than the money and everything else. When you lose your health, don't be the person that has to lose their health in order to get the appreciation and the gratitude for taking care of it. I think that's our shared message today to everybody. Take the step now before it becomes an issue.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's it. Hally, thank you so much. Get out there, everybody, and have a happy, productive day. Bye. I I hope you found today's episode of the Happy Productive Podcast inspiring. Every successful business is formed by a set of small, consistent, and attainable steps. If you want to learn more, come visit us at jenniferdawncoaching.com to take your next step and learn how to meet your business goals. On our website, you're going to find free resources along with links to the life-changing coaching programs that have transformed the lives of so many of our clients, including the Coaching Academy and our Unbreakable retreats. Many of them started their journey by listening to this podcast. That's it. Thank you for listening and stay tuned for our next episode.